Okay, here we are with that piece. I wanted to show you. I've got it cut out, but what I did was where I had scribed that line, on the back side I went and put some masking tape, 2 pieces. This is 3/4 inch wide stuff. And then I scribed it, and then I cut it with a saw just almost through, and then I broke it down. And what the tape does, it allows it to bend. So once it goes up in here, it will follow the contour. Let's see if I can get it in here real quick. Okay, you can see it comes in and it slides in between the 2 pieces here, and it locks right up into place. And all I'll do is I'll put my glue on there, and it makes the contour correctly. I'll put my glue on it, and then I got enough lip here that I can put multiple clamps all the way around it to hold it until that glue dries. If you can, I would lightly sand this with some 100 grit paper up underneath there before you glue it. And I guess I'll use 5-minute epoxy or use some CA. But once you glue this in place, it will make this a little bit more rigid, so we can go on from there and install our cockpit. Plus, it'll give us something to glue to up underneath here when we get ready to install the cockpit. Alright, I'm going to figure out where we need to go, and I'll be right back. Okay, you can see here I've got that piece clamped in. I was going to say, I talked about possibly using CA or epoxy. And this is made of a clear plastic before they painted it. And it's really slick. What I may suggest you want to use, and I tested it out, it doesn't harm the plastic at all, is like I use called a plumber's goop, G-O-O-P. That's like a silicone-based glue. It works really well. It will not get brittle, and it adheres really well to both things. It holds about anything. So anyway, once you get it in, make sure you clamp it down really well. And I've clamped it everywhere I possibly could to make sure I got a good seal. So it's already dry. I put it in overnight, and it has made that area really rigid. So anyway, I just want to show you what I'm using for glue, because it'll stick a lot better and last forever. And make sure you clamp it in all the way around to make sure you get a good seal on it. Okay, here we are back. I've got the whole rear cockpit done. I'm going to show you how to install it. One thing I am going to, before I made a suggestion that you put a piece of plywood in here, I'm going to say you definitely need to put the piece of plywood in there. Like I said, I believe it's 5 1/4 inches wide, and when you do the length of it, you need to plan on making it come back here to the back and come a little past the front here. I think mine's right at 10 inches. You need to go about 10 1/2, 11 inches, so you have a little bit that comes just a tad forward here, because what you can do is it gives you a little bit more glue area here on the end, and it shouldn't affect your front cockpit at all. And if as long as you make it a little bit long, you can always cut it off later. But anyway, you definitely need to put that piece in there. Also, I don't know if we can see it or not, I had to clean out, let's see, you can see I had to clean out some of this former here to allow the cockpit to come in there. Let me measure it real quick. The cockpit width, the rear cockpit width across there is 4 7/8 inches wide. So you need to clean that former out so you can get at least the 4 7 inches and 4 7/8 inches in there. Anyway, here's the completed rear cockpit box. What I had to do, because of the length of the, I had to make it in 2 pieces, but it's nice and strong. I'm going to show you real quick. I did put a stringer across the middle, which is hidden once you install it. You definitely need to paint this first, because trying to paint the, I don't know if it's hard to find documentation, but I don't know if that was a radio box or what, but it's hard to paint that after you have it installed. Anyway, when you get ready to start, there is 2 pieces that are exactly the same, and we're going to do those just like we always do with the take the pliers I've got the wide pliers, and we're just going to crimp both of those. Get them both crimped up, and so they're at 90 degrees, or can go 90 degrees. Alright, now another thing is you need to cut all the flashing off all the way around. You need to try to get it square. I still got to clean that side up. But one can have a little bit of flashing, the other one needs to be totally cleaned off, because I'll show you what we're going to do here in a minute. But you need to get both of them the same. You have two end pieces. Alright, and those end pieces, what we'll do very first thing is, it doesn't matter which end you start with, as long as you're using you can use the end that you hadn't cut off, totally all the flashing off of, but this slides in the end. Okay, you're going to glue it to where it's flush with the top, and I use the Model Masters liquid cement for plastic models. It does really well, and what you need to do is clamp that. I use a bunch of these little clamps because you do have an edge here, and they'll get around that edge. You can flip the end up, and it'll come around that edge and hold it. And you want to glue both these ends in. All right, that one in one end, and then the other one, the stringer across here goes down to the bottom, and you'll glue that in, and they should fit perfectly. All right. Once you get that all clamped up, then we're going to take these two and we're going to glue them together. I start with the bottom, and it's easiest if you set it down on the bottom, and I put glue on both halves, and then I take a bunch of these type clamps, because you need something that will get a little bit of a bite on them. And just like, and you you get them and you clamp them together. Okay, now you need to make sure that you're even, and once you get the ends in, it's a lot easier. But you want to make sure you get it all even, so it makes a good box. Now you need to use. I was able to use 2 across the bottom and 2 on the sides, and then you're going to let that set up. It usually takes. I usually let it set overnight, and this will make your box for the whole thing. All right. Once you get through, it looks like this. Then you need to measure across here, and what I did is I put that looks like a 3/8 by a quarter piece just dead in the center, and this just locks it in so it doesn't bow out at all. All right. That box is totally finished. Is especially if you got it painted, it's ready to be installed. The next thing I'll show you, what I did to support this in the back. Now you're going to glue across the top and up onto the that plywood plate, but across the back for setting up and trying to install it, I cut a piece of stringer. This was 3/8 by half. And I cut it to 7 inches. And if you look on the side of the plane here, you see where it looks like a stringer of the airplane when they tried to simulate the fact. This, what I did was turn the plane upside down, put this in place, and I took a pencil and marked on the fuselage where the bottom of the cockpit deck came. I went inside and this is just barely tight enough, and you can play with the length. I'd make it a little over 7 inches to work my way down, and stick that in, and then as you put the cockpit in, you slide it in up on top of this, and it gives it something to rest to. And on the front, like I said, I made the that plywood deck long enough that it will I can clamp the plywood deck and this together to hold it in place, and that'll be a good way when we get ready to glue it. You put the glue on and clamp it on the front and back, or both sides, and then we'll have the back sitting on the rest. You also will be able, with the stringer here, to clamp it across the top here, because you're going to be plywood on the wood. Okay. So the next thing I'll do is, let me slide this piece in.